Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. KP here with Nick in attendance once more, as we are going to be going through our reactions to Saturday's premium live event from the WWE featuring Clash at the Castle from Glasgow, Scotland. So a lot of matches taking place there, a lot of talking points. We're going to be going through every single thing that happened, and we're going to get into the debates and the discussion and the analysis. So here we go. How about we go into our first match of the night, the one that would kick off the show, and it would be none other than the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship match. Cody Rhodes would defend up against AJ Styles. And this sort of match, you never know what you're going to get with an I Quit match, right? You never know whether you're going to get a classic, whether you're going to get something that's sort of going to fizzle out into something that maybe could have been a lot more, maybe was missing something. I personally am a believer that this match was a quality way to start the show. I mean, you talk about the matter that you've got all the stipulations being like no disqualifications, you can use whatever weapons you want, you've got to literally force your opponent to surrender. It's quite the spectacle when done correctly, and I think this one was done quite well for the most part. I only got one minor criticism that I can really think of for this one. I wasn't really a massive fan of the ending. I don't know whether you stand on that, Nick, whether you like the ending or not. But in terms of the match itself, I thought it was great. I mean, we had a large sort of variety here with these two. They went to the backstage area. They went all the way into like the production segment. They went through like the gorilla into the back down the ramp, back into the ring. Rhodes was involved. There was a whole lot of elements to this one. Several weapons, tables, candlesticks, chairs. Yeah, there was a lot going on. There was a lot happening in this one. So it was nice to see sort of like the vicious intent from both men throughout the entirety. Obviously, this has been quite a heated thing in the last few weeks with Cody and AJ. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to be part of in the crowd. And yeah, really enjoyed this one. What were your thoughts on the ending, though? For me personally, was the slight little downer on the matchup. I thought maybe it was a bit anticlimactic the way it finished, but I don't know. What did you think? Did you enjoy how it finished up? Did you enjoy the way AJ essentially just got scared into saying I quit? Were you a fan of that decision?
You're not reading off my notes, are you? Pretty much exactly what I had. My one complaint. What I did mention in the predictions video, I feel like I quit matches are just very hit and miss by nature. Either they work or they don't. I feel like this one did work. Outside of the ending, as you said, was a bit anticlimactic because I feel like the only way it kind of works is just because he's a heel, and so you take the easy way, scared heelish tactic, and that you quit before you get the chair. Unbeknownst to him, he was getting it anyways. But yeah, I don't know. If I have a stipulation to pick, I'm never going to pick an I quit just because I don't know. They're just A, it's hard to do something that hasn't already been done, and B, it's just the whole part of shoving a microphone in the wrestler's mouth while they're trying to perform, and getting them to say I quit is just, I don't know. It's just kind of a tired, just not for me. But that being said, the rest of the match was great. Yeah, my only complaint was the same as yours, just that it just felt like a cheap finish, I guess. But yeah, I think their first match was obviously better, and I think I'll always pick just a regular match over an I quit match, but that's just me.
Maybe we are looking at the same notes. I don't know. We didn't discuss this in the build up to this, but yeah, I think you made a good point. Just it is a little bit sort of, I don't know if it's cringe. Maybe that's not the right word I'm looking for here, but it is a bit strange with the whole dynamic of like pointing a microphone in the face of a superstar wrestler, whatever, whilst they're performing, getting them to say I quit. It is just a really strange thing to see happening. But yeah, I don't know. This was a good match. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed it. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. It's just, like I said, that last couple of moments with the steel steps and stuff, just essentially forcing him into saying I quit out of pure fear alone. Yeah, I want a fan of that. But the match itself was very enjoyable. These two tore each other apart. There was outside interference with Mama Road, I guess you'd kind of say. Little bits here and there. But yeah, it was an enjoyable watch. 8.5 out of 10 from me.
Yeah, and I think the bit where AJ took the chair over to Mama Road, I think, made me tense up. 90% sure he wasn't going to do it, but the slight fear, like, oh. But Yeah, if you take out the the I quits part of it, I think it's a great match. It just unfortunately, if a match has that bad ending, which we'll see a reoccurring theme today. It just kind of takes away from the match as a whole. But yeah, there were some great spots. Just kind of felt flat in my opinion. I gave this one a 7 out of 10.
All right, so quite the difference in rating there, but I completely understand the logic. I shared the same similarities there, to be honest with you. But yeah, hey, that kicked off the show. How about we talk about now what happened afterwards, so what followed on from that? And we would see the women's tag team triple threat contest. We would see Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defending their championships up against Raw's Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler, as well as Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So in the build-up, we did criticize maybe the fact that Alba and Isla were beaten so easily by Zoe and Shayna on Raw. Yeah, maybe discredited them from the entire conversation. Didn't think they stood a chance. Maybe the conversation was more about Jade and Bianca retaining, and then like maybe an outside chance of Shayna and Zoe Stark maybe winning it. But something we didn't see coming. I'm not sure if maybe you guys did, but Alba Fire and Isla Dawn would become the new women's tag team champions, and being Scotland's own. Maybe this was the WWE's way of saying, you know what, we're going to give the fans something to cheer for here. We're going to give them a title victory, and they're going to be the new tag team champions. And it's exactly what happened. It was kind of crazy. It was an awesome moment. The crowd were hyped as hell when the referee's hand hit the mat for the third count. And yeah, it's a great moment for both Alba and Isla. Can't help but feel happy for them, smile at what they've done. But it's about obviously going from there on. But the match itself, it was going along quite well, I thought. I was quite enjoying it up until probably about 2/3 of the way through, maybe 3/4. And then things started to get a little bit chaotic, slippy, not too sure what the right word is, but you get what I mean. Because I think it was Jade Cargill did a springboard off the top rope. She would fall in the process, a little bit of a botch there. And then I think afterwards there was a couple of moments going on from that were maybe a little bit sort of like, I don't know, lack of confidence, maybe just the moment got to everybody perhaps, and I don't know, it just sort of seems to like drop a little bit of quality. But I think they picked it up towards the latter moments of the match, the last few moments. But yeah, I thought this was actually quite a decent watch, to be fair, for the majority. Just shame about that like little bit 2/3, 3/4 of the way through that maybe sort of like dropped it off a little bit in my estimation. But I mean, these 6 women, they were all heavily involved. I don't think anyone really shied away, which in multi-person matches, I tend to base my judgment a lot on that. Whether everybody gets involved, whether somebody really ducks away and shies out for the majority and then comes in at the end to like be involved in the finish, whatnot. I don't think that really happened here. But yeah, surprising win for Alba and Isla. I didn't see this coming, and I'm pretty sure you didn't either, Nick, right?
Yeah, this was the least I guess predictive outcome that I had. I figured one of the other 2 native Scotland folk would win. But that being said, I felt like even though Isla and Alba won this match was more about Bianca and Jade, because in my opinion, I felt like they did, they took on about 90% of the offense in this match. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but majority of the offense definitely came from them. And then until it didn't, I mean, so much so, and that the other 2 teams had to, team up just to have a shot, because Bianca and Jade were absolutely dominating. That being said, yeah, Jade does greenish color is definitely showing. Last few matches, I feel like she's had, and I get it, everyone messes up from time to time, but it feels like it's been somewhat consistent now. The longer the matches, the more kind of a guarantee it seems to be. Yeah, I don't know. It's and this happened again later, and this happened again, on Raw last night. So maybe there's some bigger issue there, but I feel like Jade is the common denominator in that. Is that she seems to have some sort of issue every match, and then yeah, as you mentioned, once she did have that issue, she really struggled to get it back together. And again, maybe she's just still, too green and maybe needs to go back to the drawing board a little bit. To me, I feel like at this point, it'd probably be best just to keep her matches very short and almost Goldberg-esque to kind of help keep her aura, because the character is awesome and, the entrance is great and all that, but it just feels like maybe she's not quite ready yet for that big solo run, because we're just dealing with a tag team at this point. So we'll see where that goes. But I did not see this one coming, and I think it's for the best. I think at this point, I feel like Jade kind of brings Bianca down a little bit, and Jade's character doesn't really match Bianca's either. So I'm hopeful that that's the end of that, and they'll both kind of go back to their singles status, and it'll be interesting to see Alba and Isla's character development here, because it kind of did feel like their whole unholy union gimmick kind of got dropped. They were hitting it pretty hard there for a minute, and then all of a sudden they weren't, and now they're just kind of two Scotland women, I guess. And maybe I've missed something. Maybe you caught on to something else, but it kind of felt like that kind of dropped. But yes, the hometown, the local got the title and the big win. Great moment. Can't take that away from them. But yeah, just the match felt a little sloppy, as I feel like these triple threat tag matches kind of do. Anytime you get more than two in the ring at the same time while also trying to tag, it just never feels like it goes that well. So yeah, didn't rate this one very highly. I gave this one a 6 out of 10.
So once again, I think I'm a little bit higher than you are. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I think, yeah, the sloppiness did play a big part into this one. I think these later stages did sort of drop it down a little bit for me, as I explained earlier, and as obviously you've mentioned as well. But yeah, you made a good point about Alba and Isla with the unholy union gimmick. I don't know about that one. It's odd, isn't it? They did have it, and then it sort of did essentially disappear away. There hasn't really been as strong for some time now. I'd love to see them bring it back. I hope they do, because it gives them a little edge, makes them sort of unique in their own sort of way. So yeah, fingers crossed that does sort of happen. We see some, I don't know, return to that gimmick some point soon, because they need something like that. Just give them another edge, just give them another set of quality to go in their direction, and then I think they can have an enjoyable and fun title reign. But yeah, I mean, kudos to them. Great win for them on home soil. The Scots win in the women's tag match. So that was matchup number 2 of the night. How about our third one of the show? And this one is all about the story that took place between Chad Gable and the Alpha Academy. This was Sami Zayn defending his Intercontinental Championship up against Chad Gable. And the match itself, I thought, was pretty down quality. I thought it was great. These two putting on a very good show, performing quite highly, as we probably expect from these two, for the most part. And yeah, it was, I mean, I'm not going to lie, the biggest part of the story here is the fact that Chad Gable and the Alpha Academy, they're still not on the same page. And that would come to haunt Chad towards the latter stage of this contest. We'd have Sami getting into a bit of control, Chad being able to turn it around, and then he'd go for the distraction. He'd trying to get the referee's attention, allowing Otis and Maxine to get involved. I think it was Maxine with a steel chair, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Maxine was very hesitant to do that, didn't go for it. And, time caught up with Chad Gable. The opportunity went. A little bit of a mix-up between himself and Sami Zayn, as well as Maxine and Otis. A little bit of a scramble at ringside and, miscommunication, whatever, from the Alpha Academy. And then Sami Zayn would capitalize eventually once Otis would take Maxine away from the situation. Gable distracted by them leaving. Sami hits the Hula kick, and it's 1-2-3, still the Intercontinental Champion. It was a great contest, though. I really did enjoy this one. I thought it was a hell of a lot to watch, a hell of a lot of fun to watch. The crowd, especially, very, very loud for Sami Zayn, and I think we didn't mention this earlier, but also with Cody Rhodes as well, with a certain Chad. And yeah, they really, really did bring the noise and made this matchup seem even bigger than what it really was. But I mean, Chad Gable, he's come close once again to winning that Intercontinental Championship, and still hasn't clicked with the Alpha Academy when it matters the most, considering the motto has been from the start, from this heel turn, no matter what. I mean, it's by the looks of it, it's not communicating no matter what. But what did you make of this match, Nick? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was a great spectacle? Obviously, that mix-up between the Alpha Academy, it's been the same situation for a little while now. Do you think that's getting a bit repetitive, or do you think that, it's moving in the right direction?
I do feel like it's moving in the right direction. I think maybe just a tad too slow. Perhaps we're kind of getting a bit repetitive. But this match in itself was great. It it's amazing how seamless they're able to make the transition of, we're in this serious match against one of the best in the company, and then the next second Chad's tripping Maxine, Otis is mad and carrying her off. Like it's kind of crazy how seamless they made that transition from the two. But yeah, I have honestly no complaints about the match. Like I said, these are two of the best in the company, and they got some time to work. Yeah, I can feel bad for Chad. I know Sammy deserves it just as much as Chad does. But yeah, Chad's story, and that, as you said, whatever it takes, eventually has to have something go right? Or maybe the gimmick changes a little bit. His character maybe a little more heel. The last shot there on the bottom right, with Chad kind of looking on to Sammy, just has that sinister vibe to it, and I think, I think he's going to have to figure out a way, and maybe a new competitor, because Sammy doesn't look to be giving up anytime soon. But yeah, this was great. Second best match of the night for me personally. I gave this one a 9 out of 10.
There we go. We agree on a rating. I gave this one a 9 out of 10 as well. I think it was a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Really, really did enjoy this one. And yeah, that point that you made with Chad Gable staring daggers at Sami Zayn. He clearly isn't done for the IC title yet, is he? He clearly still wants it, but how many more chances is he going to get? Who knows from here on out? But yeah, 9 out of 10. Very much enjoyed this one. Absolutely loved it. So on to our next match then. It's our penultimate match of the show. We had a one-on-one contest between Bayley, the WWE Women's Champion, as well as Piper Niven, the challenger for said championship. Sorry, excuse me. The build-up to this one has been all about Bayley maybe overlooking Piper for a large part, right? And looking ahead to other things. Nia Jax's the queen of the ring, and yeah, I don't know, maybe not really considering Piper too much of a threat. But then obviously Piper in the build-up, bringing herself up, delivering a wonderful promo, attacking Bayley on a regular basis, really getting on Bayley's nerves, I suppose you could say, right? And eventually that caught up. They'd have a match here at Clash of the Castle. And it was quite a fun one, I thought, to be fair. There were quite a lot of elements to this one as well. And I say that because Piper would come out with Chelsea Green, who would get ejected from ringside eventually. And there was quite a funny moment towards the end there. If you're looking down at the bottom left image there on the screen, you've got Chelsea Green, who would come out in a Rey Mysterio mask and would attempt to get involved once again. Referee, obviously understanding the situation, not having any of it, trying to, get her away from the situation once again. Bayley coming out and dealing with things herself, launching Chelsea Green into the barricade, and then getting back into the ring and eventually getting the job done. But Piper Niven showed up, and she showed well really here. She had the Scottish crowd on her side. I think there were actually boos for Bayley at a couple of points here, if I remember correctly. Not from me personally, but I think from other members of the crowd there were. But yeah, it was a weird dynamic here with the crowd. Quite 50-50 split at points here. Piper maybe getting a bit more of the noise on occasion. But yeah, the crowd still did cheer for Bayley, obviously, as we all know, and that they would do. But yeah, it was a good match. Quite enjoyed this one. Quite entertaining. Piper, I feel like she really sort of brought out the best in what she can do. Put a lot of eyes on her in a big championship opportunity. Would you like to see more of Piper in these matches? She hasn't had one of these in a long, long time, so it's been a long space in between. Do you think she merits herself in a position where she could be in and involved in championship opportunities a bit more often now? What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, we all know that you wouldn't be the one booing UK's adopted daughter, Bayley, as she self-proclaimed on Instagram. But yeah, I have no issues with Piper getting more opportunities, and I think she should. The dynamic was a little weird here, though. I think two wrestlers who the crowd just really wanted to support and couldn't quite decide who. So I think in the end result being, I think both of them kind of got reactions a little less so than they normally would have. They were facing any other women in this match. And so the luchador mask did not fool you. I could not figure out for the life of me who that was. that female luchador character who came back out. But yeah, I felt like this was a pretty good match. I might have hyped this one up a little too high. Actually, this might have been a little too high just because of the high hopes I have, as always, for Bayley, and Piper had delivered quite a few or a few good promos right before. And I think maybe they might have got time cut a bit short. You know, they knew the main event was going to be long, and then you know, maybe some other match went a little long, but this one definitely felt like it was the shortest of the night, and maybe got a little bit of time cut from it. But I didn't feel like it really affected the overall. Just didn't make it quite as memorable for me personally. I don't think I'll go back and watch this one, you know, just looking at Bayley's greatest hits or anything. But still good. You know, I gave it 8 out of 10. But yeah, I definitely think we need more of Piper, and you know, maybe she'll get a Money in the Bank slot.
I mean, possibly, yeah, it could happen. To be fair, with you know, I think with her in like an elevated position now, maybe off the back of this, maybe proving that she can go in the bigger stages and stuff. Yeah, I think when it comes to, you know, the length of time they were in the matchup, I do agree with that one. I think the finish maybe was a little bit sort of a bit anticlimactic, kind of similar to that of the AJ and Cody match that we were talking about earlier. I think it was a crucifix pin from Bayley to score the fall. I think what I would have preferred to have seen is, you know, where Bayley hit the Bayley to belly off the second rope, the mid rope. I would have preferred to have seen that maybe be the finishing move rather than the crucifix. Maybe they could have swapped them around. Could have the crucifix earlier. Piper like kicks out or whatever, because, you know, it's just a crucifix, and then Bayley could have, you know, eventually got that Bayley to belly off the second rope, and that could have been the victory there. That could have scored the win for her. But yeah, I don't know. The win maybe a little anticlimactic, like I mentioned, but yeah, it was enjoyable to watch. I did like it, but I gave this one a 7 out of 10. So, you know, sort of like same sort of standing as the women's tag for me. It wasn't my favorite match of the night, but it was good. It was good, and, you know, enjoyed sort of like cheering for both people. That was kind of strange.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too. And I think, you know, I hadn't even mentioned the ending. Just the overall match felt like, you know, and again, this might just be my expectations, or at least I thought, but it sounds like by your ratings, maybe that wasn't the case. Wasn't as well received as we kind of thought going into it. The only silver lining I could draw on it from the finish would be when you see a roll up finish like that, it typically leads to more matches. So maybe that's kind of where we're headed. And I personally wouldn't have any complaints about that.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, I wouldn't really complain myself, to be fair, if we do see another matchup between these two women. So, okay, let's go into our main event then. It was the home country boy going one-on-one with the World Heavyweight Champion. It would be Drew McIntyre up against Damian Priest. And the Glasgow crowd, this is what they wanted to see all evening. They wanted to see Drew McIntyre bring home the gold. They wanted to see him get the big victory that he so desperately craved all this time. Going back to Clash at the Castle from 2022, he was screwed by Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. This was a chance to make things right and, you know, to correct the record and get the win on this occasion. Unfortunately for Drew, somebody else had different plans, and we spoke about this in the predictions video. We mentioned that could he be involved? Maybe he wouldn't be. Would he really travel across the world to screw Drew? Well, the answer was absolutely yes, he would do exactly that. CM Punk would cost Drew the victory here after a pretty decent match between the two of them. That wasn't without its hiccups, and we'll talk about that in a couple of moments. But the ending of this one, that's the biggest talking point. How about we get started with that? CM Punk, the referee was down. The referee got knocked to ringside. A little bit of altercation between Drew and Damian, knocking into the referee. And that would clear up the space for Drew McIntyre to hit a Claymore kick onto Damian Priest. Damian was out. It was Drew's match to be won. He'd go for the cover. The crowd, I think, counted till 10. I think we did something like that. It felt like forever. And then suddenly you just see a referee running down the ramp, or at least we did anyway. And then for you guys on the TV, it was a referee slides into the ring, counts the 2, and then I think the penny started to drop and you realise, wait, hold on, that's CM Punk in the referee shirt, isn't it? Yes, it was. He screwed Drew. He didn't want to count it. Drew got distracted. He would put his hands on CM Punk. He's not actually the official, so, you know, it doesn't really matter. But CM Punk would deliver a low blow kick to the private parts of Drew McIntyre, and that would be enough to stagger him to a point where Damien could take advantage, essentially on one leg at this point. Again, we'll talk about that in a couple of moments. And that would be enough for Damien to hit the South of Heaven and to get the victory and retain the championship, much to the crowd's disgust and boos. But, I mean, how petty can CM Punk get, right? I'm not going to talk about this in sort of like a salty manner, but how petty can this man be? These two have been having this wonderful feud, right? It's absolutely brilliant feud. And this just adds it to the next level, right? It puts out that next notch, and it just elevates it to the next point. And that's kind of crazy here. The fact that one of these men will be willing to travel around to a different part of the world just to screw the other one, it's quite a spectacle. But yeah, what did you make of CM Punk's actions here? Were you a fan of this? Did you get irritated by it? Are you looking forward to the next part of this feud? What are your overall thoughts on the Punk McIntyre part of this?
So now that I've had a couple days to think on it, had we done this video the day after or the day of, probably wouldn't have ended well. Would have turned into a bit of a rant. From a business perspective, it's great. You know, it just when we think we can't kick it up another notch, we do. As you said, traveling all the way over to Scotland to do it just kind of raises the bar yet again. And, you know, he was there waiting, and that was another bit I wasn't aware of at the time. I didn't know he was sitting there waiting and grabbed his shirt, because just watching the match itself, I was like, well, how did he know the ref? Thinking maybe the ref was in on it. But no, he was just waiting and saw an opportunity, jumped on it, and ran out there very, very promptly. But yeah, from a business perspective only, the rivalry is as hot as it's ever been. And maybe their perspective is this rivalry is so big, they don't need a title. And I don't think you can argue that, you know. Do I think Drew deserved to win this? Yes. But the question just being solely right now about CM Punk and Drew, you know, even if it was a bit predictable, and the fact that CM Punk would be there, the way they went about it was something a little different. And so that was good, I suppose. But it just fool me once, you know, fool me twice. Now, yeah, it's hard. It's hard, similar to, you know, to Chad, but to another, just a whole nother level. Drew's competed for a title twice in the UK and has, in similar fashion, been screwed over. So we'll see where they take it. But yeah, clearly this is the hottest thing in WWE right now.
Yeah, it's hot. It's about as hot as it's probably gonna get, I think. I don't think they can really elevate it any higher than what it is at the moment. These guys absolutely hate each other. They'll do anything to see the other one live in misery. And it's got to a point now where it's just, you know, where the hell do you go from here in terms of raising this up even further? If that's even possible. I don't think it is, but you never know what they've got cooking, right? You never know what they've got planned. But either way, the salt on this man is nuts. The pettiness is unreal. And it worked. Damn it, it worked. And in all honesty, I think you made a good point. From a business standing, it's a great call, right? You know, you're raising up your one of your hottest stories going at the moment, and it makes a lot of sense in that department. But for me personally, the only thing I have a problem with here is the logic behind it. So Drew McIntyre has been screwed how many times now for a world title, right? You're talking like 3 or 4 times, yeah? So it gets to a point where you're just making Drew McIntyre look stupid. So you really, like, I think they're expecting us to believe that Drew McIntyre would have went into this match thinking, oh, Punk's not going to be there. He's not going to get involved whatsoever. And, you know, I'm just going to fall for anything here. And this is exactly what happened. You know, this is exactly what happened at the end. It makes Drew think like, well, you know, I'm untouchable. I'm in Glasgow. Nothing's going to happen. I'm safe. Like, it's all good. But I think realistically, if you're Drew McIntyre, you're going to expect something. You're going to expect something to happen. And it's, I don't know, that to me didn't sit particularly well. I would have liked to have seen Drew at least sort of like have a fight at the end or something. Maybe Punk does come out. Drew tries to fight against the adversity between himself, Punk, and obviously Damian Priest, who's already there. I would like to see a little bit of fighting back between them, but I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan of how it ended, but I think personally it's just because you're making him look really stupid by having him be screwed once again. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm drawing too deeply between the lines there, but the match itself was quite the spectacle. We had some very good moments throughout. We had slips and worry for Damian Priest at one point because he went for a top rope move where his foot actually got caught in the ropes and looked like he suffered a really bad injury, maybe shattered his leg or something, broke his ankle, whatnot. You could say a number of things for that, really. But, I mean, hey, Damian Priest, the way he carried on after the match, he was on one foot basically for the rest of the match. It was kind of nuts, but he hobbled along, he worked it, he got it done, and he still managed to put on a decent, finale, which, I got to give him credit for. He worked through it, he fought through the pain. It takes a lot to do that, and it was a really rough spot. It looked horrendous from our standpoint, and on having seen it on TV as well, it really did look terrible, absolutely awful. But yeah, I do feel for him for that. But yeah, I mean, the two guys, they hit each other hard, right? It was a pretty heavy hitting contest. It was quite fun in parts, and yeah, up until that finish, it was it was looking like a Drew win. But then obviously, Punk with the with the screw job at the end. And I don't know if you saw it, but Wade Barrett afterwards on the press conference, wow, he went off. He went off on CM Punk, and it was quite hilarious. But yeah, enjoyed the match. I thought it was fun. Just a shame about Damian's slip on the ropes and stuff. That was happening throughout the course of the night. So yeah, a few problems here and there with those ropes. But I gave this one 8 out of 10. Still very much enjoyed it. Thought it was a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, I don't know. Drew looking stupid. Wasn't really a big fan of that.
Yeah, and again, the theme we discussed earlier, or I discussed earlier, was that a bad ending or a lackluster ending. You have the I Quit match, the Bailey Piper roll up, and now you have this predictable but at least somewhat innovative, I suppose, with CM Punk coming in as a ref. We've seen it before, but it's been a while. Yeah, the match itself, as you are well aware, I'm not the biggest Damian Priest fan, but I walked away from this match. That was by far his best match that he's had on main, in my opinion. I assume that's a real, I assume he was in a lot of pain from that slip up on the ropes. I would be amazed if he wasn't. But regardless, they both did a good job of keeping their composure and working that into the match. And if Damian wasn't in a bunch of pain, he certainly did a good job of selling that he was, and so he earned a big amount of respect from me for this match. And and this match just felt like it was, the other four were just regular matches, and then the crowd showed out for this one, and really made their voices heard on this one. And yeah, it's just a shame that the narrative won't be, this was a great match, and Damian won it clean and got a good clean victory under his belt. It'll be CM Punk once again cost Drew, and it's just like I said earlier, had we done this a couple days ago, I probably wouldn't have been so understanding. But for now, Damian is holding on to that belt. We'll see it for how long. Now he's got Gunther to worry about, so we'll see where that goes. But as for the match itself, it was my favorite of the night. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Without that ending, and I don't care who wins. Obviously, if Damian loses, that would have been the preferred outcome by most probably. But yeah, it just felt like it was so close and kind of tarnished there by the end. But yeah, this unfortunately that's the narrative that I feel like I took away from the whole show, because once again Drew gets cost an opportunity. As you said, it does surely we all knew it was a possibility. Why didn't he? You know, and he's been caught twice in the UK. He's had a 5-minute reign because of CM Punk. When he won a title and against Brock Lesnar, it was an empty arena. This man is due a big comeuppance, and I hope it's soon. I'm just not sure all the titles in the world can make up for all the crap he's had to deal with WWE booking. So unfortunately, that's my overall takeaway. Unfortunately, from the event and from this match specifically.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with anything you're saying there. I think a lot of what you're saying is very true. I think when you look at the bigger picture, it does really sort of like bring things to life about how crazy Drew's career has been since coming back, and like how often he has been thwarted in his attempts to winning the big titles and stuff. And even when he has done, he's had the bad luck of it being in a time where there was literally nobody around to actually witness it in person, and him really be able to sort of like soak all that in. So I feel bad for the guy. Like, it's irrelevant of a UK standpoint here. It's more of a just, you got to feel for him. He's had the worst luck possible, and it doesn't look like it's ever gonna really come his way. It really doesn't, does it? Even when he wins them, he somehow doesn't get the moment that he's looking for, which is still crazy. But yeah, this match, I mean, that ending, it's just it put a lot of people in a sour mood, myself included for sure. And speaking of that as well, that sort of like transitions nicely into the general overall of the show. I wouldn't say I was in a sour mood whatsoever here, because the show itself was quite nice. I think it was a good mix across the board in terms of the matches, in terms of the talent, in terms of how everything went down. We had new women's tag team champions crowned. The home moment for the Scottish girls, that was amazing. Alba and Isla getting their big moment in front of the home crowd on home soil. Chuffed to bits for them. A really great match between Sammy and Chad, as well as Cody and AJ, Damien and Drury showing up as well, and then obviously Bayley and Piper. And then the women's tag team matches, in my estimation, maybe weren't quite as on the same level as those others, but I thought overall it was quite a decent show, quite enjoyable. Great to have a crowd that was really into it. From what I understand, I hope that is what happened on the TV. Hopefully it sounded loud to you as well. But 8 out of 10 is what I give the show as an overall. I think it had some very up moments as well as a few down moments. I think the ropes specifically were a little bit of a problem. Maybe a couple of questionable booking decisions at the end. Maybe the way that the matches ended, whatever. But no, across the card, quite enjoyable, pretty consistent in terms of quality, and really had a good time watching it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think if the McIntyre Damian Priest match goes on first and they swap the two men's titles, I think I'd probably hit my outlook on this would be much better. But part of it too is just, not only do I feel bad for Drew, I also feel bad for the UK, because you guys don't get these PLEs as much, and when you do, you can't seemingly get just a good feel-good moment. Granted, you got it with the women's tag, but it just feels like it felt like it was right for the taking there with the Drew McIntyre win. But yeah, the ropes issue having happened Monday, now we're recording this on Tuesday. If I'm WWE, I'm looking into that a little more, because having happened 3 times over 2 nights, not consecutive, but having happened 3 times over 2 different events, and 3 of those talents being Jade, Damian Priest, and Braun Breaker over those 2 nights, and who are all very big stars and bright spots in the future. It just seems like a bit too coincidental, but maybe it is. But anyways, unfortunately, my big takeaway just being CM Punk, but the rest of the card was good. And I gave this one an 8 out of 10 as well. As an overall, it's just hard when the last thing you see is the one thing you don't want to see. But yeah, overall it was great. Just a bit of a sour finish was all.
Yeah, I'll agree to that one for sure, 100%. Hey, guys, thank you so much for tuning on in. It's been a hell of a lot of fun going through the Clash of the Castle show with Nick. getting all our opinions out there. What did you guys think? Did you agree with what we were saying? Do you have other things you'd like to add on to that? Because if you do, let us know in the comments and see what you guys made of the show, and if you maybe rated matches higher or lower, depending on what you guys thought. But hey, this has been another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. Thank you for tuning on in, and it's been great to get our opinions and voices out once again. We'll be back with another video at some point with our weekly reactions for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So we will see you all in the next one. So thanks very much, guys, once again for tuning in. This has been The Push with Nick and KP, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you, everybody, and see you later.